So something a bit personal today. I've been following the news story of Jason Arday, the British academic who died last week, and held one of the most prestigious positions at University of Cambridge. Was the first Black man to do that, and there were accusations of plagiarism or lack of academic integrity against him, and he had resigned and refuted all of these accusations. The investigation was ongoing, but what was really really brutal and just completely racist was the way he was treated in the British media and by specific journalistic publications. I'm not even sure if I want to call it journalism, to be very honest, but this was just a pure media trial meant uh, to basically just ridicule, denigrate, dehumanize Jason Arday, and embody. It was an embodiment of pure racism, and a reflection of the fact that there was and there is a section of people in British society who cannot fathom how a Black man could have such an important, prestigious position at one of the most prestigious universities in the world. And this is where it gets a bit personal. I have no personal stake in this story, of course, but as someone who is a woman of color, who is from a former colonized country, and as a woman who has studied at one of the world's most prestigious universities, and now works in Europe and in a position in a leadership role, I think this feeling definitely nags at me, regardless of how much ever I feel that I'm capable, I am smart, and I am worthy of being in this role. There's always this feeling, and I think many people will relate to it, that nags at you, that am I good enough for this role? Am I capable enough? Was I a diversity hire? Was I a diversity recruit? Or was I accepted into a college because they had to fit, their diversity quota? I think this does nag at you because we occupy positions where we are not ideally supposed to be, or we don't look like people who are quote unquote naturally supposed to be in those positions, which is usually a white male person from Europe or from North America. And so I think this is a very real feeling that sometimes I grapple with as well. And this is a moment of vulnerability for us to think about why this feeling still persists. And I don't think it's just an individual thing. Of course, it's a systemic thing as well. And the way Jason Arday was treated in the media actually makes it more urgent to show why this feeling persists amongst a lot of us who have made it to roles or universities, or in achieve milestones in our life that generally people like us are not supposed to be accomplishing or achieving. And the way the media has really made a mockery and was completely complicit in perpetuating racism, in reinforcing racism. Instead of challenging the narrative, they were reinforcing the established narrative that people who look like Jason Arday are not worthy of being in roles where they were. And I think that needs to be reflected upon as a society, of course. And it's not just about the UK, but many different places we work in or live in. And at a personal, individual level, it's also a reckoning of how we let go of some of these more internalized stigmas and preconceived limitations that we have also harbored. It's tough to, I think, get rid of them sometimes, and it's always an uphill battle to do that. But I think if someone tells you that you are in this role because you're worthy of it and you're capable and you are the best candidate, that goes a long way in reestablishing trust in yourself, that you didn't make it here because you were a certain color, a certain gender, or a certain, region, or whatever that diversity quotient might be. So I think it's also for others around us to be able to tell us that we made it. And of course, I'm not also saying that it's my individual hard work. I think it takes really a village, a society to for anyone, regardless of their color or gender, to get to certain positions or milestones in life. So I'm also not a big believer that everything is because I was able to do it or because I'm that good. There's been support of my family, of teachers, of friends, of my life experiences, many different factors that kind of led me to this. And a tiny part of that is, of course, that I'm driven and I'm capable and I'm worthy. But I think it is also important when we hear from others around us that we are in these positions not because we are here to fulfill a diversity requirement, but because we are good at it and we deserved it. We were deserving of these roles. So yeah, it's been a bit of a personal reckoning as well to be following this news story and still be very upset and saddened by how the media continues to report on such stories and events even in 2026, where just purely racist stereotypes and beliefs and perceptions are disguised as journalistic reporting. And instead of challenging these deeply ingrained narratives, media actually plays a role in advancing and sustaining them. So I think it's a big reckoning and questioning also of the role media has played here, and how as people who work in the media spaces can change that.